Good morning, everybody. Well, I guess the theme of today's show is fake space, fake people. Welcome to Coffee Talk Live, where we explore the silly, the ridiculous, and, of course, the bizarre. Today we're going to look at pictures of India and the so-called moon landing, and their most recent claim that they actually discovered sulfur on the south pole of the moon. Really? Sulfur? Seriously? The same element that we've been talking about? The crown sulfur molecule, the crown serpent. Remember the anti-prism? We're also going to get into the fake lady on the plane. Now, many of you are saying you don't think it's the same lady. So we're going to take a look at a video of her from yesterday. And we're going to do our own analysis on all of that. We're going to look at Instagram and compare pictures, hair color, and all that kind of stuff. And then after that, we're going to get into some Corona disclosure in the new Star Wars TV series called Ahsoka. Now, it was a pretty boring series. The acting is very slow, and you literally find yourself begging for the next lightsaber battle. But I captured some clips of just unbelievable conditioning, and we'll get to that at the middle or end of the show. Let's get started on this Indian moon landing. I mean, look at these pictures, you guys. India's moon rover confirms sulfur and detects several other elements near the lunar south pole. Look at these pictures. Oh my goodness. Look at this one. How many of you have already delved into this? I know a lot of channels have covered this already. But here we are. Look, you can almost see the... Oh, that's just like a panel or something on the side there. Look at this. This literally looks like a video game. I mean, who even took these pictures? Did they have like an orbiting camera or something already in orbit to take some of these pictures that they're saying were from the moon? Unbelievable. And wait a minute. I thought we just spent billions of dollars on the Artemis program for the United States to go to the moon. And now you're telling us that India beat us? Let's read this, and then we'll get into some of the aspects of this sulfur connection, because it's not what you think. India's moon rover confirmed the presence of sulfur and detected several other elements near the lunar south pole as it searches for signs of frozen water nearly a week after its historic moon landing. The rover's laser-induced spectroscope instrument also detected aluminum, iron, calcium, chromium, titanium, manganese, oxygen, and silicon on the lunar surface. The lunar rover had come down a ramp from a lander of India's spacecraft after last Wednesday's touchdown near the moon's south pole. The Chandrayaan-3 rover is expected to conduct experiments over 14 days. The rover unambiguously confirms the presence of sulfur. Now, here's where things get creepy. Because remember, the serpent was crowned? Talked about that about 3 years ago. We started seeing lots of programming about a crowned serpent, didn't we? And we identified this sulfur molecule. This one here, in the shape of an anti-prism. Remember all those decodes we did on that? The S8 sulfur molecule. And I want you to notice that there are 4 corners on the top that point to 4 corners on the bottom. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you can see this. There are 4 corners on the top that point to 4 corners on the bottom. And they're connected by diagonal lines. And this actually looks a lot like a crown, doesn't it? We also noticed that this looked like the Wonder Woman logo, because it's basically 2 W's superimposed one on top of the other. And that's when it hit me. Why do we have 4 points on top and 4 points on bottom connected by a diagonal line? This is the square antiprism here. It's the same thing. 4 points on top, 4 points on bottom connected by diagonal lines. And then I was like, wait a minute. I've seen that before. This is the lander. 4 points on top, 4 points on bottom, connected by diagonal lines. Now, this isn't the exact shape of an antiprism. This isn't the exact shape of a sulfur molecule, but it has all of the aspects of it, doesn't it? So in other words, how did they know to build a lander in the shape of an antiprism sulfur molecule if they hadn't yet discovered the sulfur yet on the moon? This sounds more like some kind of ritual crowning of some sort. And it's really spooky, isn't it? Here we are in 2023, where a 4K camera can fit inside of your fist for the price of an expensive dinner. And still, these multi-billion-dollar moon programs won't put one of these 4K cameras on these landers so we can zoom in on the details of what we're looking at. And there's a reason why they're not putting 4K cameras or higher on these landers. Now, I know this wasn't a manned mission, but how hard would it be to send the digital data back on like a rocket, a smaller rocket, which will obviously only have to carry a hard drive, right? Pretty simple. Launch it from the moon, send it into Earth's orbit, and parachute it down to Earth. What's the problem? And that should tell you everything you need to know. Now, speaking of crowned serpents, I started watching the newest episodes of a Star Wars series called Ahsoka, and it follows basically a Jedi with serpent hair. I'll show you some clips of that. The third episode, the crown corona emerges once again as the serpent flies through it. Ahsoka is the serpent. Now, what is this series about? Well, Ahsoka takes another Jedi under her wing to train her, young Jedi in training, and they approach a planet that the dark side is using to hide a secret portal ring that's floating out in space. And so the serpent head Jedi flies her arrow ship right through the center of the ring before crash landing on a planet full of Hydras. I almost peed my pants laughing so hard at what I'm about to show you next. Let's take a look.
If I had to guess, I would say it is some sort of hyperspace ring.
I'd like to confirm that.
Morgan, they're entering your sector.
You can't make this up.
Stay clear. I shall deal with them. Prepare turbo lasers.
Prepare turbo lasers. And there's the arrow passing through the eye of the ring.
I have eyes on them.
I have eyes on them. There's another eye reference.
I have eyes on them.
And here comes the shot and the two boosters coming through the ring toward the serpent-haired lady. And then they land on a planet full of Hydras. Now, what does all this represent? Well, it's all the elements we've been talking about, isn't it?
There are 6 hyperdrive engines in place, with the final one being set into position. The good news is the enemy vessel is still under construction and not yet complete. Never seen one built on this scale before. A craft with these power levels and configuration would be capable of a hyperspace jump of astonishing speed.
So it is a hyperspace ring.
Yes. The Jedi archives speak of intergalactic hyperspace lanes between galaxies, which used to follow the migration paths of star whales named Purgle.
Yeah, and could a ring like that make a jump to a neighboring galaxy?
Theoretically, if one knew the coordinates and navigation, yes, I believe it could.
So, we've got arrow ships pointing through the tip of the spear through the ring. So what is that? This is obviously the poker. Then we've got Ahsoka, which is the serpent in the pokers. The ring is, of course, the corona. And the Hydra is, well, the Hydra. Now, this is some kind of portal. Now, I'm only on episode 3 of the series, so I'll continue to break this down. Obviously, there are going to be more references. If I had to guess, I would say there will be a sound component to the series. Now, again, only up to episode 3 has been released. So, I'm sure there will be a sound component to this. So I'll report on that back to you so that you'll understand that there is a pattern to this programming. I don't just make all this stuff up. And so if there is a sound component, we will see it, won't we? Now, there is another character in the series, and I don't show her in this clip, but basically she has a flight jacket, and on the back of it is a giant patch that looks like a syrinx. Now, I couldn't confirm any sound connections to that sound patch or to that patch on her back, but I'll continue to look into that. She plays the general in the series. So, we'll keep a close eye on this series. Unbelievable. The tip of the spear. Now that ship is called 1974. 1974 is the name of the ship. I think it's T61974. Couldn't find any other, anything in the statistics of this ship to give us any additional clues, but it's obvious that it's shaped like an arrow.
I have eyes on them.
I have eyes on them.
Now, let me check in with you guys, and then we're going to break down the lady on the plane. Now, she's not talking about what she saw. There's a new interview from TMZ. I'm going to show you parts of that interview. She's not talking about what it is she saw on the plane. Now, she's making it look like she's not allowed to talk about it, but the damage is already done. Like, she basically got charged, I believe, and it's pretty much over. So what's the problem? Like, does she plan on suing the airline? Is that why she can't talk about it? There's no reason for her not to be able to talk about it, unless she was told not to talk about it by somebody, right? Now, many of you believe that it's not even the same woman, and part of me wants to agree with that. We do know that women can look dramatically different when they change their hair, but there's weird timing as to how all this went down, and the color of her hair and stuff like that. We're going to dig into her social media a bit and try to break down what it is that's going on here. Some of you swear it's her, others swear it's someone else. Here's the plane photo, which is somewhat blurry because it was taken with a cell phone, and the lighting, of course, in airplanes is really weird. And then here's her in a brand new interview that I'm going to show you next. Now, you'll notice that she's wearing the same shirt, which can mean a couple different things. We'll break all that down in a second here. But the one thing that kind of jumps out at me is that this woman has much smaller eyes than this woman. But it also could be just the lighting, the plane lighting. Look at the top lip. Kind of looks a bit smaller. I mean, she has the same general features. This woman almost has much bigger lips. But again, a lot of women get Botox. So I'm not quite sure. So she's got the same shirt on, just different color. And this brings into the whole equation, this whole body double aspect. We've seen this before. We saw it with Ghislaine Maxwell sitting at the In-N-Out Burger. That was not her. They want us to believe that she eats hamburgers. Really? A wanted criminal is just going to show up at an In-N-Out Burger and eat outside? I'm afraid not. But everyone believed that that was really her. Maybe that was a segue into who they could get people to believe was really in jail. And so they were conditioning people to accept the body double image, right? Now, body doubles are it's a very real thing. We did a couple decodes on the Blacklist series, remember? And there were several episodes across the 10 seasons in which body doubles were used and to trick people. So it's a real thing. Now, when you go on this woman's Instagram, something weird happens. This is the most recent picture of her just before the incident. And as you can see, her hair is very brown. This was about a month before the incident. This was in June. And people are upset in her comment section on some of these other more recent videos that she put up on her Instagram. They're like saying that that's not her. In fact, the newest and top comment says that's not her, and it has lots and lots of thumbs up. So here she is with brown hair in June, and then July the incident happened, and obviously she went back to blonde hair. But again, it could be the lighting. I'll give you that. Sometimes the way the light falls, but that looks a lot more blonde. And then we come back to this most recent video, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And her hair's brown again. So she went blonde and back to brown within a 2-month span? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Women that color their hair know that you can't just keep coloring it because it'll start to break off and cause issues. Now, I do know that brown and blonde is easier to change color. I do know that. But that's a little bit weird, isn't it? So, June, this was her hair. Then July, this was her hair. And then now, this is her hair. Now, what other things do we notice here? Well, the woman on the plane seems to be a little heavier, maybe 10 to 15 pounds heavier than the woman I'm going to show you next. Now, people can lose weight quickly after a stressful situation. I've seen that happen. People can lose 10 pounds pretty quickly if they're all stressed out. I know she probably got trolled a lot on social media, and then people just don't eat. And within, a week or 2 or 3, they lose 5 or 10 pounds just from skipping meals. So it's hard to say, but if I'm honest with myself, I have to admit that these two women could be different women. I mean, look, the bun is almost the same. The ears are similar. Again, it's all lighting, and unfortunately, this is the best of the images that we have. But it's very possible that what we could have here is a doppelganger. Now, what would be the point of them doing this? Well, the obvious point would be a cover-up, right? And your first inclination is to think, that's exactly what happened. They wanted to cover this up. But let's think logically about this. In order to have a cover-up, they would have to basically erase everyone from this woman's life, the woman on the plane. They would have to erase everyone from her life. In other words, kill them, or they would have to pay them off, wouldn't they? Would they do that? They wouldn't just leave a loose end hanging. They wouldn't just try to tell someone not to say anything, knowing that at some point in the history, they could come back and say something and spill the beans. So, would they really take out an entire family and all her friends of whoever this woman was to do that? And this is where we have to use discernment. So right now I'm like in the middle somewhere. I'm kind of erring toward it's the same woman, because it would take a lot to enact a cover up and silence all of this woman's friends and family, right? Because nobody is just completely alone in this world. Everyone has friends or family or someone who's going to recognize her on the plane, know that she got on the plane, and all of those loose ends would have to be tied up, wouldn't they? Either paid off or killed. Now, what is the other scenario that could be at play here? Well, I sat and thought about this because I'm like, what would be the point of all of this? What a weird story, right? Maybe this woman is being paid to simply gaslight and toy with people. In other words, this is conditioning for people to accept body doubles, to get people to maybe not believe their eyes anymore, or to see doubt. The kind of doubt to where if you see a person that you thought you saw, all of a sudden you realize it's not the same person, or there's doubt in your mind that it is the same person. And maybe this is a precursor to a future psyop or existing psyops that are happening right now of body doubles being used in the place of people in jail, people who were killed, and things like that. Cover-ups for powerful people to replace themselves with doubles, either now or in the future. So maybe this is part of a conditioning programming, which would mean that this woman could be completely in on it. And she could intentionally be pretending like, or changing her appearance, altering her appearance to seed doubt in your mind, right? So she's wearing the same exact shirt in the interview as she was on the plane. Now that could reinforce the body double argument. Basically, it'd be the attempt to maintain the continuity of her costume. Or it could simply be her attempt at maintaining brand recognition. Since she was identified, her Instagram picked up like 100,000 followers within days of her identity being released. So maybe she's just trying to continue the brand. About this stuff to see what is at play here. Now, before I play this video, there was a particular article that came out just after the incident happened. Let me go to the top here. I'll put links to all this. This is Indy 100. I don't know where I found this article, but they asked the question right after the plane incident. Is Tiffany Gomez or Jenna Wilson the name of the woman from the viral plane video? I don't know who Jenna Wilson is, but they break all this down and they talk about these weird Twitter accounts that popped up in Tiffany Gomez's name. Now they're gone. Apparently they were taken down, but they're saying in the days after the event, a Twitter account under the Tiffany Gomez name popped up and was talking about the incident and making fun of it and mocking and seeding doubt and all this stuff. And then, lo and behold, this Tiffany Gomez account gets wider exposure through this Instagram account under the same name. So, needless to say, there's some really spooky stuff going on, isn't there? Now, let's get into this TMZ video here. I'm going to only play parts of this. I'm not sure if this is okay to play, but let's play some.
I got to ask you, how does it feel to be traveling again?
Great.
Okay, so she's been granted the ability to travel. And so we're just going to look at this. There's 23 in the background. Obviously, there's some psyop going on here. The fact that she's wearing the same shirt in the airport, TMZ wants you to believe this is some random interview that they got, like it was just off the cuff, is the way it comes across. But none of this stuff is ever by accident, is it? Let's keep watching here.
You know, in the airport again, after what you went through.
A little bit of anxiety, but it's been good. Yeah.
Are you doing it?
Okay, so she seems somewhat nervous, and it does seem authentic, the nervousness, But it could just be excitement that, wow, she's getting all this attention now, right?
Anything differently, like, you know, when you're getting ready to travel, or was there any new?
Now, the interviewer definitely seems unprepared. Like, the questions are just lame. But pretty soon here, he's going to ask her what she saw. He says, everyone wants to know what you saw. And this is where I want to look at her body language and see what's going on, because it's a simple question, right? She should be able to answer the question. And as I said earlier in the broadcast, there's no reason why she shouldn't answer the question. What happened to her already happened to her. She got in trouble. Obviously, she's not in that big of trouble because she had the ability to fly again, right? So she probably got some kind of fine or whatever. So there's no litigation going on. There's no reason why anyone would have told her not to say anything. Now, it'd be different if she planned on suing or something.
Techniques you use?
No.
No?
No.
And a lot of people are curious
Yeah.
what exactly you saw.
Okay, now watch the body language here. We're going to try to zoom in a little bit here.
Because you know, you alluded to what you saw, but like we just want to know, like, you know, what did you see?
I mean, thanks for asking that, but I have been told I cannot comment on it right now.
I see.
I'm sorry.
Are you going to, like, you know, have a full kind of interview somewhere, or like what's going on?
So she's been told she can't comment. Is that something a person would say if their attorney told them that? Right? Definitely not. This sounds like someone from the airline or someone much higher up told her that. If her attorney told her not to comment on it, she would have said, I've been advised not to comment on it, not told not to comment on it. Because obviously the attorney works for her, right?
The deal, what's the plan on?
The rate it's going, I feel like it's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
So yes.
So of course she's going to probably do interviews at some point, and I'm sure she'll continue the whole, oh, I'm not allowed to talk about what I saw. And it's just going to keep raising everyone's suspicion. And this just seems to me to be shaping up as a psyop. It's to attract attention to people like us, to make us look crazy, right? And then they're using it, they're weaponizing that to basically push the body double narrative.
There's some things in the works, mostly nonprofit charity stuff. But I've been trying to like lay low for the most part, but.
So obviously she's not laying low because she's in the airport granting interviews, right?
Reporters wouldn't let that happen, so.
Yeah.
So she must have gotten on a plane and then like someone recognized her because it looks like they're in baggage claim. Yeah, they're like in baggage claim. So that's probably when this guy approached her and asked her for the interview or whatever.
Well, like I was so much strong-armed into speaking, and now here we are.
Well, I do want.
Then her handler pops in from the right and says, "Hey, it's time to go." And this is where this feels very staged. Watch and listen.
No, like, I mean, you won't say to me what you saw right now.
Yeah.
You can't.
All right, just got here too.
Yeah.
Well, but what about?
Our ride just got here, he says.
Like, what was the reason that you wanted to get off so bad?
Again, can't speak on that right now, but
Understood.
I was distressed and I was getting off the plane no matter what. I just probably didn't need to make the scene that I made.
So, weird, right? Let me get your guys' thoughts. That's pretty much all the time I wanted to spend on this, but I did want to address it. A lot of people are talking about this. I wanted to try to see what was the psyop behind this. I wanted to do some comparisons of body language. So now you guys got a good look at all this. Let's see what your thoughts are on this. Because think about this. People can just say, oh, if I want to get popular, all I got to do is make a scene on an airplane, right? They don't want that. Of course they don't. So there's a reason why they allowed it to happen. And the reason why they're covering it. All right, let's go into the chat. Good morning, everybody. Exactly, Pirate Heart. If they didn't want to answer questions, why are they going around dressed the exact same way? With the exact same hairdo, right? If she wanted to lay low, she probably would have like let her hair down or put it in a different style and wore something different. And then nobody would recognize her, right? But she's dressed in the same exact fashion. No, we're not overthinking this, the doctor. This is, like I said, it's important to examine these psychological operations so that we can understand. I wouldn't be spending the time on this if it wasn't important, okay? So we can understand what is going on. Obviously, this directly links to our community because they're trying to say that that's what kind of person she is. We have to look at this stuff. It's not a waste of time. We don't need to move on. Well, we're going to move on now, but it needed to be addressed today. All right? So, I think the people that don't want us to look at this, that's a little bit suspicious to me. Because this is actually pretty big news. Okay? All right. What else is going on? All right. I'm just reading your comments here. So most of you feel like she's a different woman. And it could be the case. All right, you guys. Well, I'll let you get back to the rest of your day. Thanks for showing up. I love each and every one of you. And not sure what we're going to do tomorrow, but we're getting close to the end of the week. Saturday, we'll definitely take the day off. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care.